Hey everybody, welcome to Maine Wedding Buzz, and this is our second show. I thank you for being here, and today's guest is Nadra Edgerley from Nadra Photography. So welcome, Nadra.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a photographer, primarily wedding photographer, and I have been in business now for almost 15 years. I started my business in California. It's where I'm originally from, and my family and I moved here again, about 10 years ago. We wanted to come here. My husband lives in Maine, or grew up in Maine, and we wanted to raise our kids here. So we made the move and have loved it. It was a real easy transition to come to Maine. People are amazing.
The way life should be.
The way life should be, absolutely. We picked right up, and my business sort of took off as soon as I got here. So
excellent.
Excellent.
How did you get started in your industry? I always love hearing how people jumped into what they're passionate about.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I had a conversation with somebody just this weekend about how if you pay attention, your path is typically right there in front of you. You just have to follow it. And so for me, I was sort of struggling in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I finally had this moment of like, you know what? I need to do something for me. I need to do what I feel good and passionate about. I can't think about the future. I can't think about what my job is going to be. I just need to feel like I love what I'm doing. So I chose art as a degree. I'd already been sort of involved in it a little, and I chose an art degree. I have a studio degree, which meant I had to focus in multiple areas. So painting, sculpture, ceramics, jewelry, and then photography. And then my three primary advanced classes were metalsmithing, ceramics, and photography. But photography is the one that stuck. And I thought I would move to San Francisco and just exhibit my work, and it would stay with me, and it would just be art for art's sake. And it's interesting though, and you can have people, we photograph my wedding. And I did it hesitantly at first, because I didn't want to mess up somebody's wedding. So I felt like that was a lot of pressure to do that. But I did it, and it stuck. I love it. I can't go back. I don't even do much fine art necessarily, because I feel like I do it in my wedding work.
Nice.
But yeah, that's kind of how I got started in weddings. It was sort of found me, and I followed it.
Excellent. Yeah. What drives your vision?
People.
People, clients, the weddings.
The clients, the subject. I am a people photographer. I love people. I love emotion. I love history, and we are history. As soon as you take that image, it's in the past. And so I love that element too of documenting family history, preserving those memories, because what would we have without them? What would we have? Who would we be if we didn't have our memories? So that's really what drives it. I'm not a landscape photographer, and I would say I love these beautiful pictures of lighthouses, and I would love to get up at sunrise and go take one, but it's never going to happen. I don't get up at 6.
That's a great way to put it. What are some of the photos that are the must-see photos that your clients say, well, Nadra, I want to see this in my photo, or do they just give you carte blanche?
They pretty much give me carte blanche. I feel pretty fortunate there.
That's excellent. That's good trust.
It's a lot. It's very good trust. I've built a really good reputation for myself. I show what I do. I walk through the process of what I will take, and by the time I'm going through that, and I've told them and set the expectation, there really isn't anything left that they want. They can't think of anything else. Oh no, that sounds great, Nadra. You just do your thing. We're in your hands, and we trust you. And that is such a wonderful statement.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling to have that trust, because then
Absolutely.
you know the day is going to go really well.
Oh yeah, and I can be creative. They trust me. So this Saturday, they were kidding around because I was had my bride and groom walking on some rocks and heels, but they said, nope, we trust you. The sister was a little hesitant. She didn't know me that well, so I can understand why the trust wasn't there with the sister, but not the bride and groom. She took those heels off, jumped down on those rocks, and just went right where we wanted her to go.
Great.
And we created this amazing,
You captured that moment.
Absolutely beautiful image. So.
Would you say that 90% of your business is wedding driven, or do you have other stuff that you do?
Yes, absolutely. We're definitely more wedding focused. I would say probably maybe 80%. I do some corporate work. Photojournalism is such a huge part of my job, and so it's very easy for me to go do a party, a corporate party as well, a Christmas party, or even a sales meeting, annual meeting, or because the photography doesn't change. So I do some corporate work and some family portraits as well. But weddings are the love and the passion because you never know what you're going to get. There's all this great family dynamics going on. You've got people in the happiest day of their life. I always say that I'm in the happy business.
The happy moments, happy.
Happy.
Nice.
Everything's happy. You can't help but you turn around. There's another smile and another hug happening, and I just gravitate to that energy.
That's excellent. What's your take on first looks? Yeah, that's a big trend and that's happening.
Big fan, but maybe not for why most people might think. I think the trend sort of started because brides and grooms were being whisked away for hours at a time, and their guests didn't know what happened to them, and they didn't want to miss their party because they want to live in the moment too, and so they don't want to miss that cocktail hour. And so I think that's kind of why it sort of started. I've adopted it long before that. I've been doing first looks or recommending them for years because again, back to my earlier comment about the emotion and the connection, there is nothing more beautiful than capturing a moment when a bride and groom see each other for the first time. And when you're coming down the aisle, when the bride is coming down the aisle, the first person she sees is not the groom. It's the last person in the last row. And let's be honest, they were late. That's why they were in the last.
Exactly. Good way to put it. Absolutely.
So they they have to share that moment, and I think it's so beautiful when they don't have to necessarily share that moment with anyone. The day is so busy and everyone's running around. When they have a first look, they actually have 10, 15 minutes
of true emotion,
true moment and emotion together, where they can be alone, and then they can go off and visit and do all of that and let the party begin. So it's actually really beautiful, and I love it to see a groom's reaction. And I kind of set it up a little bit. I get him kind of excited, and I say, well, "Okay, oh, she looks so pretty. Don't turn around yet. Wait, not ready yet."
Nice.
It's really sweet.
That's a great way to do it.
And then they turn around, and I let it go and let it happen naturally. It's beautiful.
Perfect.
Love it.
What's your take on your best venue that you've worked at, and why? Or is there lighting, or is there a reason why you like working at these locations?
It's not the lighting or the venue, it's the people. So there are some amazing vendors in the state of Maine, and there's no venue I've ever worked at where I haven't found beautiful opportunities. But it can be the most beautiful venue in the world, it can be the most gorgeous light, but if the timeline has been messed up, or the vendors haven't come together and it's not a cohesive team, it doesn't matter, because it's about the memories. So you can't force a great moment. And it's not about the venue itself, it's about the people.
Whole day and
it's the
everything.
Whole day. It's the people, it's the bride and groom, it's the family, it's the
having
caterer,
the right team.
It's the team, it's the florist, it's everything all coming together. That's what makes a beautiful wedding day. So.
How do you feel about these new products that are out, like GoPros and iPhones, and you have 150 people and everyone has a camera? How do you, as a photographer, deal with that?
Yes, everybody's a photographer. So a couple of things to think about that. Now the new digital cameras all have video. Well, just because I have video doesn't make me a filmmaker or a videographer. And just like, just because I have an oven doesn't make me a chef. So a camera's a tool, and it's who uses that tool. So when I take a picture, it's not just because I was trained in how to use my camera. Everything from my past comes into it. Every bit of the way I see the world comes into it. What inspires me in the moment, the emotion that happens, the things that happen between families, that's what drives me to click the shutter. And just because I technically know how to use the camera doesn't make me who I am. So camera's just a tool.
Wow. How many shooters, or do you have shooters on your jobs? Do you like having shooters on your jobs, and why?
Yes, I always work with an assistant slash shooter because I feel like there are those moments where we need to be in two places at once, and it's very vital that that happens. And my second always has a job. So if there's a church with a balcony, their job is to photograph that nice, beautiful, maybe wide shot from the balcony. If there's you know, another circumstance where maybe the ceremony is that we can't get close to the bride, I put one on a longer lens, and one has a different, or I might have a different lens. And also, I just go so fast. I work so fast. I've always worked with an assistant. I've always had somebody with me because I do go, 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 and sometimes I need somebody to grab stuff for me, get lenses, change lenses. So it's vital to keep my flow if I have somebody that's with me. So I think it's really important.
How has the economy affected your business? I know in this wedding industry that we're all in, it really hasn't affected us too much, but have you seen that in photography at all?
Well, when we had a little dip in the economy in 2008, and we were really affected by it more in 2009, 2010, I saw a little bit, but I have consistently photographed 20 weddings myself for the past, probably say 12 years. I had established enough of relationships, or my relationships and my reputation, that I didn't find it affected me too much. What I found was that couples still wanted good photography. They still felt that that was really important because in the end, that's what they have to preserve.
Lasts forever.
Memories. It lasts forever, and it isn't about today and in the moment. It is for tomorrow. It's preserving that family history so they can share it with their children and grandchildren, the next generation. So it's really important. So I didn't find it affected me too much. I found that the priorities did switch a little bit. You know what I found it was the most thing, I think the number one thing, and you may have found this too, the size of weddings have got a little smaller. And I think that's what I found was more interesting.
Trimming the number of guests as opposed to the quality.
Yeah, and kept the quality high. So no, I was really fortunate in that. I haven't really felt the economy really affect me too much.
Excellent. And I see that you've been in several magazines this year and several publications, but one that sticks out is Real Maine Weddings magazine that's actually out on newsstands right now, and how you've accomplished these wonderful photos. Do you feel that they're helpful, and can you explain a little bit about them?
Sure. So this is a shoot actually that we did together. It was a party that was put together. It wasn't just a shoot; it was a party. But we thought maybe a bride and groom model might be appropriate to sort of finish telling the story. And but we did for me the most important part that you're referring to, as far as using multiple images. There are multiple images being used for this image and for this, and it was really because I knew the most important part of the scene was the view, and it's so important that it came out. But just the lighting of that particular room, the way it was that it would have caused everything to go in shadow on this side. So I had to use multiple images, sort of like a puzzle. I used parts from one image and parts from another to kind of bring out everything, so everything was highlighted. And so same here too. So if I would have just done it in one shot and exposed for the food here, the heels would have gone white.
Which is incredible because it's really truly an art form. I mean, I really do think that, and I think it's beautiful. The photos came out stunning.
Yeah, I mean, I could have lit it. I could have brought in artificial lights and lit everything up, but then it would have looked artificial. So I wanted it to look natural, so that's why I did it in so many different
And I think what sets it apart too is you took an inspiration shoot and really we turned it into an actual party.
Yes, that was.
So there were about 100 people at this event, which was really nice instead of it just being a shoot and that was it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It turned out to be an event.
I think that was what made it fun because you put all of the hard work of the excellent caterer and designer so that more people could see it than just people that got the magazine. So.
And I know that you work out of your home studio, so when clients call you, do they make an appointment? How do they go about arranging meetings and things of that nature?
Yes, I do have a home studio. Everything I do, well, most of what I do is weddings, so it's by appointment only. Surprisingly enough, I do a lot of booking over the phone. I don't meet as many people in person as I used to. Yeah, I used to meet more, but but less and less, I think.
Do you feel it's because people don't have as much time anymore? Do people
Yeah.
working 2 jobs, things of that nature?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think people don't have as much time. I also think that being in business as long as I have has been helpful in that regard, because
The trust.
there's a lot of trust, and they're getting a referral, and so they feel confident in. Usually, they're confident right from they call. I've heard
Nice.
everything about you. I know your work. I've seen it. I've been watching you. I've been following you. I think social media has helped that, because they can follow you, then keep up to what you're doing.
Pinterest, Twitter,
Pinterest,
Facebook, all that.
Absolutely. Blogging. They can kind of keep an eye on me, even if they're just thinking about getting married. They might not be engaged yet, and I get those calls too. Well,
Interesting.
and so, because it is referral, most of my business is referral. I tend to do a lot of booking over the phone, and I don't get to meet them in person all the time. But every once in a while, it's really nice to meet them in person. They come to my studio.
So do you know when that client is the right fit for you, and when it's not? And sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes that a client isn't the right one, and
it still happens. Oh yeah, they sneak in there every once in a while. But again, I feel like I've established myself in my style, my reputation, the way I approach a wedding. I usually go right into what's most important to you. Why are you getting married? Who are your most important family members? What do you want in the end? And if I hear things like, I'm really close with my family, my grandparents I'm really close to them, I want to make sure I get a photo with them. If some of their first things they're asking for are sentimental in nature, I know that they're the right person for me, because I know that we're going to connect in it.
it's going to click.
Yeah, it's going to click. And a lot of times it is.
Yeah.
It's a clicking thing. We just, when the conversation flows, we're not even talking price or anything. We're just talking like girlfriends, or, sometimes I get to talk to a groom. Sometimes grooms do call me very often. Not very often, so I say it's like talking to a girlfriend. But every once in a while, and moms, I get a lot of moms that are planning weddings for their children.
We are too recently.
Yeah.
It's the moms that are calling because their daughters are so
They're
busy.
So busy, you know. I'm doing 2 doctors. I'm photographing 2 doctors this Saturday, and we've really had to do a lot through email, because they're in the middle of their residency. They don't have time. So yeah, a lot of it is that way. And again, and thank goodness for the trust. And I think that's why we've been so successful, because of that.
Which leads me, how do you get your clients? Is it print, social media? And you did say referral, but is referral, say 80% and the rest comes from social media and marketing, or?
Gosh, you know what? I mean, I'm almost like 100% referral at
Wow,
this point.
that's excellent.
The magazines and the social media, they're all just enhancements. Getting published just gives me legitimacy and legs to stand on. But I rarely get an inquiry that isn't from somewhere, whether it be a venue, vendor, past client. Maybe they did see my work or heard my name, but they didn't really know quite what I did. I could get that too. I just heard you were a photographer. I've had that phone call before, and or I've heard your name somewhere. And so the perfect storm, though, is they've seen me in a magazine. A friend said, they should call me. Florist, I might have been the photographer at a certain wedding they did, and they saw a photo I did. My favorite is when they're ready to book, they really want to hire me, but they're still fishing through a magazine. This is my favorite story, because I've heard this a few times. They're still going, they're like, well, maybe I should just keep looking. I should still look a little bit more. And they come across a wedding, and they go, oh, that's a really nice wedding. That's so pretty. Oh, it's Nadra. Okay, I've had that happen, and it was your wedding that so we knew the decision
was already made.
And they knew and it just solidified it for them. So again, it's helpful to have all those avenues to show my work. I love being able to show my work in different ways, but again, it's the referral. It's like, yeah,
that's excellent.
Yeah, it's nice. I think 15 years. Whew.
You earned it.
I've earned it.
Now, these are some great images, and I think I'm in love with this one. It's just incredible. Incredible. And do you want to say anything about these 3 images you brought today?
Oh, goodness. That's a great story. I don't know how much time we have, but I just love it. It's very Maine. It's very nostalgic, obviously. It's It's just, I don't know, everything about it I love. I love that couple. I love that car. But interesting enough, that was the third car. They were not there.
They just picked, this was the one that
No, no, one car didn't show up. They had
Really?
another one came. Then that one didn't start, and then we actually drove over to the park on another car, and then here comes the driver in this car. And again, everything happens for a reason.
Exactly, it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. That was it's just perfect.
When you brought it into the studio today, it clicked in my head, and I wanted to tell you while we were on camera as opposed to earlier. Ava Gardner and Frank Sinatra popped into my head in that moment. They had that relationship that was so volatile, but they were so passionately in love. I looked at that photo and I thought, God, for a split second, it sort of took me back to them.
Took you back.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that feeling.
I think it's the car and the whole, that era, which is a sort of a bygone.
I love that. Well, I'm glad you said that, because one of the things I'm always striving to do is to stay very classic in my work. So as much as I do have a fine art background, again, I'm always looking at light, texture, composition, really trying to think outside the box as much as I can in the time that I have. But what I really want is classic imagery, so that when you're looking at it, you're not quite sure when it was taken. And the only thing that can really date it is the clothing that they're wearing, or maybe
some of the surroundings,
maybe a building that's not there anymore, or something like that. So that's what I love about it, because you don't know when that was taken.
This was a great photo when you brought it in. I was like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Thank you.
And both the photos behind me as well. The other two are great as well, but this one just struck me on an emotional level.
I brought this one because that wrinkle in her nose when she's smiling is just
too cute.
So cute, and that's what it's all about,
And he's grinning just ear to ear like he's in love.
Happy, and and even though I told him to stay on there, and I chose the composition, they shared the moment. They shared a connection. I can't do that. I can't duplicate that. I can't make them do that.
That's a great feeling.
I can give them an opportunity to have a moment together, and when the trust is there, they allow themselves to feel, and that's when we click. I click that shutter.
So after an event's been shot and you go back to your studio and you're reliving the moment, because you really are reliving the moment, because you're sort of kind of making the photos happen in a pattern for yourself, and then you're getting them into these beautiful photo albums in different ways. I'm going to assume you do parent ones as well as groom, bride and groom. How long from start to finish would say a client get their product at the end?
Well, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get their proofs out, and we put them online. We go through about 3,000 images between me and my second.
3,000.
About 3,000. We have about a 1 in 3 keep ratio, and that's usually because we're just tweaking it. I kind of like to sort of figure out what I'm doing. I get inspired, and I go, oh, I got to do it one more time, and change just a little thing in it. Then I keep like the best 2 or 3 or whatever if I'm taking up a certain scene. Sometimes I only get one shot, but that's one great photojournalistic moment that I get, and that stays in there. But yeah, it's about 3,000, and we're going to go through those and get it to a sort of a manageable number, and then we proof them out online digitally, and they'll get to see them all, and then the process of the album begins. And that's, most of my clients need a little time to absorb, and just they want to relive it too, and they want to. I make sure that they know that this is forever. This album is forever. So our album process is about 6 months.
Wow.
Gives them a chance to really. They need to relive it a little. They need to think about what they want forever. This is their family heirloom, so it's very important who makes that book. And then on top of that, very busy clients. Very, very busy. Again, like you said, both of them working, younger,
different states sometimes.
Different states, younger in their career, so they're go-getters and have a lot that they have to do. Don't have starting families. That happens. We try to get the album out before the family starts.
Nice.
That's then when the family comes and the new house comes, then the process gets a little bit slower. But for the most part, it can take up to 6 months for the album.
Wow, incredible. Incredible. It's a great business, and you actually get them at the end where you see them during the event and then you relive their wedding all over again when you're giving them the finished product. So
Oh, yeah.
at the end, and I never thought about this until now, that a photographer actually gets to enjoy them twice.
Oh, yeah.
The start of the wedding, and then when you deliver the finished product, you do it all over again.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah,
a
and
caterer or a florist, we're sort of done, and
Yeah.
our part is done. And so that's a really cool way to start to finish.
Yeah, I had a bride once at the end of the night. She gave me a hug and she said, and we felt like, best friends at that point. I'm intimately involved in their day, even though I'm a fly on the wall most of the time, but I'm still interacting and I'm still pulling out their emotion. I'm allowing them to feel comfortable to share that emotion by continuing to remind them that these photos are for them and they want to be real, and I prompt them to sort of express themselves. So by the end of the night, they're feeling very comfortable with me, and there's lots of hugs happening. And she said,
Lots of secrets being
lots
told.
of secrets being told. Oh yes, I know all kinds of things. And she said, "Wow, you must get really attached." And I've never really had somebody say that to me at that point in the day, or I've actually ever. And I'm like, I absolutely get very attached. I have been known to cry.
Well, you do, because you become, and I've always said this, you become a temporary friend.
Yeah.
And so, and I hate saying it that way, but the reality of it is we are temporary friends in this industry, because they go off and you expect them to give you a hug as they drive away, but really they're giving their parents or their best friends or their maid of honor, and then you left almost like you've been broken up with.
Right.
And this
Oh,
feeling
I'm
of
not gonna
pain
see
hits
you
you,
again.
and
Yeah.
it's because we get so attached. We spend
attached.
sometimes anywhere from a year to a year and a half with some clients, and I know that can be emotionally sometimes draining.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe we need a
I mean, we're
therapist.
intimately connected to
Exactly.
their every little working detail of their lives and their family. We know everything. I mean, I'm telling them to express their love to each other in front of me. So it's pretty powerful. It's very intense at times, and so even I've been known to cry even when the album is done, and I'm like, I remember that moment. It was so beautiful, And then, sharing that again with them, I get to hear what their reaction was, or I get to hear something new, like, oh, I love that you captured that moment. My favorite is I have a photograph of grandma talking to her little son, and she's just leaned down listening to him. Now I thought the image was cute, but I didn't know what the exchange was. But I had put it in my portfolio of images because I just thought grandma's son, and he was in a little tux. He was so cute. So anyway, she was laying down. They were having a conversation, and she tells me, the mom told me later on. So this is the things I get later. Nadra, I love that picture. I will cherish it forever. I will never ever forget what he told me in that moment because of that photo. And he said, "Grammy, how much longer do I wear my man clothes?"
That's great.
It's the cutest thing ever. So even I have an attachment to that moment, even more so than I ever did before. And I have heard countless little stories like that after the fact of an image that the couple loved because of a moment they were having or a conversation they were having. And I didn't know it, but I could sense and see the emotion, and I was driven to photograph it. So
that's great.
It's pretty cool. So.
Which leads us, if you're looking for images and a photographer, Nadra's the best. I've worked with her. I've been in Maine now 8 years. I absolutely adore her. So at the end of this, we'll show all of her information. You can look for her online as well. I thank you again for joining us on our second show. Nadra has also graciously accepted to host when I can't, so you'll see her more. And I look forward to seeing everybody else on Maine Wedding Buzz.
Yes.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Bye.